were talking of Balahat, and Jadavat.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I remember. Tell me.
So now regarding Balahat,
Yeah.
if you have a child who may be 2, 3, 4, 5 years old,
Okay.
and is insistent on this Balahat, how do you manage that child?
Oh, no. Balavat refers to an adult who has gone to the spiritual level of consciousness.
No, I'm talking of Bal, B-A-L, Balahat.
Yeah.
Not Jadavat, Bal,
Yeah.
B-A-L.
Yeah, BAL is Bal means young child, na? A baby.
Yeah.
So Balavat, the term Balavat refers to an adult person who is behaving like a child because he has gone to the higher level of consciousness, but the ego has disappeared. So the ego is like the rudder in the physical world. If the ego is not there, you will be like a leaf floating in the wind. Okay, so it is the ego that gives you direction and order and purpose in the physical world. You will see that those who don't have an ego, okay, a sense of individuality and a belief in oneself, if that is not there, you will be wandering without purpose and without motive in the physical world. So that's what happens to those who go to the higher level of consciousness, but they are not able to anchor themselves there, and the ego has disappeared. Okay. The ego is the element that gives you order, motive, and purpose in the physical world. Now, when you go to the higher level of consciousness, that ego disappears. Now, it is possible that it is not replaced by the self, which is not yet mature enough, or in the individual, it is not yet enough to govern life, and you start losing. You have neither ego nor control in the spiritual world. You are a floater. Okay, very rare. It's not very common, but it can happen. Okay, that is what I referred to. It's not a question.
But my question is different.
That's what I thought. Tell me. So, how do you manage a child?
Is, if you have a child who is maybe 3, 4, or 5 years old,
yes,
and who has this stubbornness, no, I want this, I want to do this, then how do you manage that?
Yeah, I think the one solution is usually, sometimes you can't manage these children. Okay, we have such cases in the ashram also, but it can be done to a certain extent with love and sympathy for the child. Never scold the child, but sort of hug him to and bring him to yourself and explain to him what you are demanding from him. If you explain lovingly, chances are that you will succeed. But scolding never works because the child will revolt. Okay, I was having a discussion with a school in Lucknow, and the principal, mind you, the principal was saying that sometimes anger is justified for correcting children. Okay, so I don't think it will ever work. When a child is very adamant, and that means he has got a sense of personality. He wants to assert himself. Even that is the case, your idea that with violence and with scolding, you will be able to control him. My theory is you will never be able to do that. You can threaten him with consequences, but that will not change him. This is my idea. Okay. The only way is to, through love and through sympathy and understanding, explain to the child why his behavior is deleterious, why it is harmful to himself. If you explain that gently and slowly to him, chances are that he will come round. Okay, Yasmin, you are asking a very interesting question. In the ashram, I was told the other day, in the kindergarten, there is a child who is like that. All right? Because the parents always quarrel at home, okay, and then that creates a tremendous insecurity in the child. And when that insecurity comes in a child, okay, all sorts of things can happen. I know of a child whose father died when she was only 2 years old, okay? And her behavior was not normal, okay? For a long time it was not normal and it had to be made normal. So sometimes very difficult. There's no doubt about it. Particularly if there is a problem with the children. It is not uncommon knowledge that when parents are divorced, it has a tremendously harmful effect on the child. Sometimes if the child is mature, and then he can manage to go through life. But sometimes it doesn't happen like that. They suffer. It is the harmony at home that makes a difference. So some children are very difficult to come around. I have heard of a child who is like that in the ashram school. The moment you touch him, okay, he revolts. So such cases are very difficult. Okay. But a normal person who is very adamant, okay, and who is very sure of what he wants and he's insisting on his own, as you said, he is insisting on his own, he is determined and he is obstinate, okay, that shows that he has a personality and one has to respect that personality. So you have to approach him very carefully without any sense of violence and a smiling face and turn around and approach him slowly. This is what happens actually with animals also. If you slowly approach it, I've seen videos of animals abandoned in the streets. Okay, it may be a puppy or it may be a cat. Usually these cats and puppies are abandoned in the streets. Then in the beginning they are afraid. Even when you approach them with food, they are afraid. So you have to very slowly, patiently sort of go towards them slowly. Then they come around. But otherwise it's very difficult. So there is no one particular answer for Yasmin's question, but it can be done to a great extent with love and sympathy and explanation. You explain to the child that what he is doing is harmful to himself. Chances are he may understand, chances are he may not understand, but there are also chances that he will understand slowly over time. That also is possible. Yeah, now I get your question. That's what I thought in the beginning, but I wanted to make it clear that the four terms, Balavat, Jadavat, Unmattavat, Pishachavat, are phenomena that happen when a soul rises to the higher level of consciousness and loses the ego, but that controlling factor is not replaced by the self yet. Because the self is not something very definite. It is something indefinite, infinite, impersonal. So there is no governance. And your behavior in the physical world becomes haphazard and disorderly. That is what happens.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay. Okay. So, Yasmin, you might as well start reading today. Okay. So, a theory of Maya. We are discussing the reality and the unreality. So, yeah.
A theory of Maya, in the sense of illusion or the unreality of cosmic existence, creates more difficulties than it solves. It does not really solve the problem of existence, but rather renders it forever insoluble. For whether Maya be an unreality or a non real reality, the ultimate effects of the theory carry in them a devastating simplicity of nullification. Ourselves and the universe fade away into nothingness, or else keep for a time only a truth which is a little better than a fiction. In the thesis of the pure unreality of Maya, all experience, all knowledge, as well as all ignorance, the knowledge that frees us, no less than the ignorance that binds us, world acceptance and world refusal, are two sides of an illusion. For there is nothing to accept or refuse, nobody to accept or refuse it. All the time, it was only the immutable superconscient reality that at all existed. The bondage and release were only appearances, not a reality. All attachment to world existence is an illusion, but the call of for liberation is also a circumstance of the illusion. It is something that was created in Maya, which by its liberation is extinguished in Maya. But this nullification cannot be compelled to stop short in its devastating advance at the boundary fixed for it by a spiritual illusion. For if all other experiences of the individual consciousness in the universe are illusions, then what guarantee is there that its spiritual experiences are not illusions, including even its absorbed self experience of the Supreme Self, which is conceded to us as utterly real? For if cosmos is untrue, our experience of the cosmic consciousness, of the universal self, of Brahman, as all these beings, or as the self of all these beings, the one in all in one, has no secure foundation, since it reposes in one of its terms on an illusion or a construction of Maya. That term, the cosmic term, has to crumble, for all these beings which we saw as the Brahman were illusions. Then what is our assistance of our experience of the other terms, the pure self, the silent, sattvic, or absolute reality? Since that too comes to us in a mind molded of delusion and formed in a body created by illusion. An overwhelming, self-evident convincingness and experience of absolute authenticity in the realization or experience is not an unanswerable proof of soul reality or soul finality. For other spiritual experiences, such as that of the omnipresent, divine person, Lord of a real universe, have the same convincing, authentic, and final character. It is open to the intellect, which has once arrived at the conviction of the unreality of all other things, to take a further step and deny the reality of self and of all existence. The Buddhist took this last step and refused reality to the self on the ground that it was as much as the rest a, a construction of the mind. They cut not only God, but the eternal self and impersonal Brahman out of the picture.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, Sharma is saying that the problem of the self, when you go to the self, the theory of Maya creates more problems than the the other theory. So, and he is saying that what's the guarantee? Okay. And what are the problems created, that we will see. Okay. So he discusses this very early in chapter 2, chapter 3 of Life Divine. If you remember, he says that suppose the physical world is unreal, then that raises many questions. Why, when you are experiencing the physical world as unreal, you are also experiencing that you have entered into a consciousness which is absolutely real. Now the question arises that even why is the reality creating this illusion? It is itself sufficient to itself. Why should it create an illusion at all? This is unanswerable, anirvachaniya. Okay? So you don't need to think that that is the last. But why do people say it is the last? Because it is so convincing. When you have a problem and you are given half a solution to the problem, there is great satisfaction. Wow, I have understood now. Okay. But the thing is that your understanding also may not be the ultimate. On what ground do you say that it's the ultimate? Because of your self assurance. But there are other experiences also opposite to the self, which are also convincing. And that he's telling you. We'll go through each sentence, but I'm just telling you what he's saying in the para. So the impersonal, featureless, infinite, eternal, immutable self is the only reality. Very convincing. Fine, no problem. But if you have the other experience of the divine as a person and not impersonal, that also is tremendously convincing. When you have the experience of Sri Krishna, or you have the experience of God coming and helping you, okay, you see the divine. Okay, just like Ramakrishna was seeing his divine mother. He answered Vivekananda and said that I am seeing the divine as I am seeing you. So where is the question of impersonality then? In fact, in his case, there was no impersonality at all. In fact, it is a very interesting story. I've told you once, but I might repeat it some other time, that he had to undergo the experience of the impersonal divine. And that is quite a story. Okay? And so, personal and impersonal aspects of the divine are equally convincing when you have them. Therefore, there is no necessity, absolute necessity is not there to think that your experience is the ultimate. Okay? That's what Srindi is saying. So, we go to each sentence, it's a big para, and we will go to each sentence and see what is. And besides, the problem that is created, we'll touch upon it as soon as we come to the sentence. What problem does the theory of Maya create for you? If, okay, so we might as well discuss it now, which is discussed in the refusal of the ascetic. Okay. He is saying, Srindi is saying, that if you experience the physical world as unreal, then existence in the physical world is absolutely meaningless. Existence is absolutely without any purpose. Okay? It's like I am real, okay, and I can do two things. When I visit another town, I am going to Madras for some work. I do the work and come back. Okay, then there is meaning. I went there because there was a purpose. I had a work to do, and that work lasted maybe 5-6 hours, but it's very important work. I did that work and I have come back. But if I go to Chennai, Madras, without any work and I come back, what is the purpose of my having gone there? So the soul which is real is entering into a region where there is no existence at all and there is no work to be done. And then you come back. What is the meaning? There is no meaning to it. So this is the problem created if the world is unreal. But if the world is real and you are coming down and there is a work to be done, then it makes sense. So the physical world, if it is denied existence, it has a real problem. Okay? The problem of the uselessness of a reality which is doing something useless. And can the absolute reality do something useless? Impossible. Everything that it will do will have purpose and meaning, but it will never do something meaningless. Okay? So that's the problem created, which is discussed in the chapter 2 or chapter 3, I don't remember exactly which one, but the refusal of the ascetic. This is the problem that Mayavada is creating. Then why is it that they stick to it? Because they think it is the most convincing. They will tell you that is the reality. The ultimate reality is not one, but it is two. They will tell you there is a divine reality and there is an unreality. That is that's true. That's what they will tell you. And you can argue all you want, but they will tell you that don't argue. Go into the experience and you will see that for yourself. Okay? This is the problem that is created. Now, we will read each sentence. A theory of Maya in the sense of illusion, because Maya can also be in the sense of non-illusion, okay? Because Maya can exist. Even if the physical world is real, Maya exists, because then you define Maya in another sense. You don't define Maya as an illusion, but you define Maya as the power of the divine to create forms. Okay, you change the meaning of the word. In the theory of illusionism, Maya is the one that creates an illusion. But in the theory of the physical world being real, Maya is defined, it exists. But Maya is then defined as the power of the divine to create forms. So that's why he's saying, in the sense of illusion. A theory of Maya in the sense of illusion or the unreality of cosmic existence, okay, creates more difficulties than it solves. Now there is a small problem here in this sentence, look carefully. So everybody is saying a theory of Maya in the sense of illusion. But now he is saying not sense of illusion, but the unreality of the cosmic existence. Now what's the difference? In other words, in the sense of illusion, there is absolutely nothing and you are seeing something. Okay? And the unreality of the cosmic existence is, even if the cosmic existence is real, you are not seeing what it is. Okay? That's the difference between sense of illusion. They use the word or. So both the possibilities are there. Okay? You see that what I'm saying? Maya in the sense of illusion is there is nothing there and you are seeing something. Okay? The other one is the unreality of the cosmic existence. The cosmic existence is there, it is real, but you are not seeing it, you are seeing something else. Instead of seeing a cat, I am seeing a dog. Okay, okay, that's what he's saying. Creates more difficulties than it solves. It does not really solve the problem of existence, but rather renders it forever insoluble. So, they agree. The Mayavadin will say, yes, yes, this is a fact. The world is unreal and there is a reality. I can't help it. This is a fact. I accept it. You may say there is a problem. For me, there is no problem. That is the reality of the existence. They will tell you that. But Sri Aurobindo says that no, for me there is a problem. And the problem is exactly what we have discussed just now. Why should the real soul enter into some unreal and go back again through release and liberation, mukti? What is the meaning? No meaning at all. Why at all did it enter there when it is non-existent? That's the problem. So for Sri Aurobindo, there is a problem. But for the Mayavadin, he says, you may consider it a problem, but I don't. Okay, for whether Maya be an unreality or a non-real reality, there you are. Okay, again the reflection of that illusion and unreality. Think of it. Okay, whether Maya be an unreality means total. That's something that doesn't exist at all. You are seeing something that exists. Okay, or a non-real reality. Non-real reality, there is something there, but you are not seeing what it is. Okay, you are seeing something else. The ultimate effects of the theory carry in them a devastating simplicity of nullification. Everything becomes meaningless. Okay? That's exactly, look at the words, okay, with such power he is saying. Nullification, no meaning at all, zero. There is no purpose, no meaning at all. And it can lead to a devastating simplicity. They are making things very simple, nothing exists. Very simple. But it is devastating. It denies the purpose of existence altogether. Why at all is there an existence? That's why it is devastating simplicity of nullification. The phrase is clear now, no? Devastating simplicity of nullification. Entire existence has no meaning at all. Ourselves and the universe fade away into nothingness, or else keep for a time only a truth which is little better than a fiction. Even if the physical world is semi-real, okay, there is a problem. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Little better than a fiction. In the thesis of the pure unreality of Maya, all experience, all knowledge, as well as all ignorance, the knowledge that frees us, no less than the ignorance that binds us, the world acceptance and world refusal are two sides of an illusion. For there is nothing to accept or refuse, nobody to accept or refuse it. Why is he saying this? Because when you have the experience of the impersonal self, there is nobody there. It is just an extinction. Okay. So when is the question of refusing or accepting? Nobody is there to accept. It's just a state of consciousness. You just go there and you experience it. There is no question of purpose, or there is no question of who is accepting, who is not accepting. This is the Mayavada theory. So that's what Sebe is saying. Nobody is there to accept or to refuse it. Okay. There are 2 or 3 poems. One is there by Walter de la Mare, and the other is a poem by Arjava, and there is a discussion on this. It is the image of the unreality of the world. When you experience the self, it's an impersonal. There is nobody there. Nobody. That's why the Mayavadins, the Jains, as well as the Buddhists, okay, as well as the Mayavadins, they all believe that there is no God. There is no personal God at all. Even Jiddu Krishnamurti also says the same thing. There is no God. It's your own imagination. Where is God? There is only a state of consciousness, an impersonal state of consciousness. You experience peace, you experience liberation, you experience wideness, you experience knowledge, you experience power also. But there is nobody. It's just impersonal. These things exist by themselves. Just like the wind exists. Okay? Just like the sea exists. It's just there. No person. Okay? That's what those who go to the self, they say that. Not everybody, but those who experience the nihil of the featurelessness of the self, they say that. But if you remember, when you go to the self, there's also the possibility of a cosmic consciousness. Okay, remember that? So when you are in the cosmic consciousness, you don't see the physical world as unreal. For Sri Aurobindo, his experience of first was the unreality of the physical world. But he did not accept it. He waited patiently, and then he saw that the cosmic consciousness is possible. So when he waited patiently, more than 6 months, he had the experience of the cosmic consciousness also. The divine is there in the physical world, and the world is real. In the cosmic consciousness, it cannot be unreal. Okay, so that's what Sadhguru is. So we have come to that nobody is there to accept it. Okay, so where are we? Yeah, there is nothing to accept. Nobody to accept or refuse it. I go to the next sentence. All the time, it was only the immutable superconscient reality. So, immutable superconscient reality is the self. That at all existed. The bondage and release were only appearances, not a reality. All attachment to world existence is an illusion. But the call for liberation is also a circumstance of the illusion. If it's an illusion, the question is, what is the meaning of liberation? He has discussed that also earlier, if you remember. He says that if you have the theory of Maya, then you end up with a ridiculous situation. There is a non-existent soul which is experiencing a non-existent world and escaping from there and saying, I have been released. Is it logical? It's absolutely illogical. The soul doesn't exist, the world doesn't exist, and yet you are talking of a liberation as though you have escaped from something real. So that's a contradiction. Okay. He has discussed that much, much earlier, and then he himself answers, and he says that the Mayavadin will answer to you in a very interesting way. He will say, you are using logic, right? And if you are using logic, where does logic belong? Does it belong to the self or does it belong to the mind? And where is the mind? The mind is in the physical world, which is an illusion. So even your logic is an illusion. So that's the answer that the Mayavadin will give you. Okay, Sri Aurobindo himself says that. Okay, so but this nullification, I am reading the next one. Okay. All attachment to world existence is illusion, but the call for liberation is also a circumstance of the illusion. When you are in the physical world, you feel the need to go beyond pain and suffering. So it's a call for liberation is real. It's part of the illusion. It is something that was created by Maya, which by its liberation is extinguished in Maya. Okay? But this nullification cannot be compelled to stop short of in its devastating advance at the boundary fixed for it by spiritual illusionism. Now, Srenda is saying, fine, the experience of the Mayavadan is absolutely real. I myself have had that experience. I can't deny it. But why do you assume and why do you jump to the conclusion that this is the last experience? That is the mistake. The Mayavadan is not mistaken in saying that the world is, in a sense, illusion. He is not mistaken. The experience is absolutely real. But why do you think that that's the last? That's what Srenda is saying. The nullification cannot be compelled to stop short in its devastating advance at a boundary fixed for it by the spiritual illusionism. Which is the boundary fixed for it? The spiritual planes of consciousness. When you are in the spiritual planes of consciousness, above the mind and in this region which is limited by higher mind, illumined mind, intuitive mind, overmind. These four planes is the boundary below and above in which you see the physical world as unreal. Below that you see the physical world as real. It may be an illusion, but you are seeing it as real. Above that you see the absolute reality. So the boundary fixed is the spiritual planes of consciousness. For by it, cannot be compelled to stop short in its devastating advance at a boundary fixed for it by the spiritual illusionism. Illusionism has a right to say that what I am experiencing is real. But it has no right to say that that's the last experience. That's when we make a mistake. I'm reading the next sentence. For if all other experience of the individual consciousness in the universe are illusions, then what guarantee is there that the spiritual experiences are not illusions, including even its absorbed self-experience of the Supreme Self, which is considered to us as utterly real? What's the guarantee? He said, yes, you are convinced, but your conviction is nothing. It's an individual conviction. Okay? For if cosmos is untrue, our experience of the cosmic consciousness of the universal self, of Brahman as all these beings, or as the self of all these beings, the one in all in the one, has no secure foundation, since it reposes in one of its terms on an illusion, on a construction of Maya. There are so many other experiences, and he's listing them one by one. He's saying that if that is the ultimate reality, then all these experiences are useless. What are those? Brahman as all these things. Remember, in the Advaita philosophy, the Brahman is transcendent, the Brahman is cosmic, he has become the cosmos, and he has become also all these things. Okay? So, we have the experience of the one in all, the all in the one, and the one becoming the all. This is the three states of consciousness that is there that Brahman can take. The all in the one is the highest. The many in the one. And the other one, the one in the many. Even in stones, in caterpillars, in dogs, cats, human beings, you are seeing the divine. That's a cosmic consciousness. And the other experience, which is the extreme experience, the divine himself has become the stone. It's not that he is hiding in the stone. That is true. But it goes to the extent of saying that even the stone is God himself. Okay? So that's the one in the many in the one becoming the many. These are the three. The transcendent, the cosmic, and the individual. Okay? In the transcendent, they all are in the one. In the cosmic, the one in all, and the individual The one has become the all. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, so all these experiences then cannot be confirmed, but they are the opposite of the Mayavada philosophy. So that term, the cosmic term, has to crumble because there are opposite experiences, and you cannot say that only your experience is real, the others are absolutely unreal. You can't say that because they are equally convincing. That term, the cosmic term, has to crumble, for all these beings which we saw as the Brahman were illusions. Then, what is our assurance of our experience of the other term, the pure self, the silent, static, or absolute reality, since that too comes to us in a mind molded of illusion and formed in a body created by an illusion? And so the argument is very simple. You may think that that's absolute reality, but that's not necessary. Somebody else can have another absolute reality. Okay? So, in fact, that's the whole reason and the whole problem for different opinions in the world. Everybody thinks that his opinion is the right one. Okay? That's why we have quarrels. And quarrel even within the unity. Look at the Shias and the Sunnis. They are both Muslim, but they are fighting with each other. Okay, even going to war. Okay, then we have also in India also we have the Vaishnavas and the Shaivites. Okay, they also differ from each other. They don't go to war, but they do differ from each other. Okay, so an overwhelming self-evident convincingness, an experience of absolute authenticity in the realization or experience is not an unanswerable proof of soul reality or soul finality. You may feel that my experience was absolutely convincing, but that doesn't mean that it is true. There can be other convincingnesses also. That's what it is. Okay? Finally, for other spiritual experiences, such as that of the omnipresent divine person, the Lord of a real universe, have the same convincingness. So, which is the experience of the omnipresent divine person? In the physical world, you are seeing the divine in everything. Okay? That's an individual. Lord of a real universe, the cosmic. Okay? Have the same convincingness, authentic and final character. It is open to the intellect, which has once arrived at the conviction of the unreality of all other things, to take a further step and deny the reality of self and all existence. So, if that is your denying the reality of the physical world, you also have the right to say that what I am now experiencing the self, that also is unreal. And is there a philosophy which corresponds to that? Absolutely. The Buddhist says that. That's what they say. And they're so logical. The Buddhists took this last step and refused reality even to the self on the ground that it was as much as the rest, a construction of the mind. They cut not only God, but the eternal self and impersonal Brahman out of the picture. In other words, absolute nihil. There is nothing that exists. Everything is a zero. Okay. That's not Buddha's experience, but that's a philosophy of the misinterpretation of the Buddhistic philosophy. And that is the reason why Buddha refused philosophy. He said, I will not I won't go into philosophy because there will be a lot of confusion. Okay? And that confusion did happen. So what I will say, Buddha said, concentrate on the problem of suffering and pain and misery in the physical world. To escape that, I am giving you a solution. Don't go into philosophy and all these things and complicate matters. Okay? That's what he is saying. They use the image of the house burning. Pain. Pain is like a house burning. Suffering is like a house burning. When the house is burning, do you start thinking that from where did the fire come? Why did it start? Who started it? Are you going to do all that? Or are you going to take a bucket of water and throw it on it and try to put the fire out? Do that. Get rid of your suffering. That's a Buddhistic philosophy. Okay? Don't go into unnecessary theories. That's what. And so they did that. The ultimate reality in Buddhism, not Buddha's experience, is a nullity, nihil. Nothing exists. Okay? But that also makes it meaningless, no? Then why at all did there be, was there existence? So that's the problem. So, big para, but Sridhar has discussed it and we have gone into some detail about it. 8:31, so we have only 4 minutes. Maybe we can read the next one. An uncompromising theory of relation. How big is that? Para, let's see. It's not very big, it's 1 page. We can read it. So, Sunki, will you read it today?
Yes.
Go ahead, read it. An uncompromising theory.
An uncompromising theory of illusion solves no problem of our existence. It only cuts the problem out for the individual by showing him a way of exist. In its in its extreme form and effect, our being and its action become null and without sanction. Its experience, aspiration, endeavor loses their significance. All the one incommunicable, relationless truth, accepted, and the turning away to it, become equated with the illusion of being, are part of a universal illusion, and themselves illusions. God and ourselves and the universe become myth of Maya. For God is only a reflection of a Brahman in Maya. Ourselves are only a reflection of a Brahman in illusory individuality. The world is only an imposition on the Brahman's incommunicable self-existence. There is a less drastic nullification. If a certain reality is admitted for the being, even within the illusion, a certain validity for the experience and knowledge by which we grow into the spirit. But this is only if the temporal has a valid reality and the experience in it has a real validity. And in that case, what we are in front of is not an illusion, taking the unreal for real, but an ignorance misapprehending the real. Otherwise, if the beings of whom Brahman is the self are illusory, its selfhood is not valid. It's a part of an illusion. The experience of self is also an illusion. The experience, I am that, is vitiated by an ignorant conception, for there is no I, only that. The experience, I am he, is doubly ignorant, for it assumes a conscious eternal, a lord of the universe, a cosmic being. But there can be no such thing if there is no reality in the universe. A real solution of existence can only stand upon a truth that accounts for our existence and world existence, reconciles their truth, their right relation, and the truth of their relation to whatever transcendent reality is the source of everything. But this implies some reality of individual and cosmos, some true relation of the one existence and all existences, of relative experience and of the absolute.
So this paragraph we'll see next time. But since we have 1 or 2 minutes, I'll do one thing. I'll read out the summary of what he's saying so that today our what we have read just now, you may remember it. So now Sridhar is saying there are other possibilities. So what are those other possibilities? There are other explanations of this seemingly controversial experience. Sridhar is saying there are various degrees of the theory of Mayavada. Why do we say that there is an absolute unreality? There can be semi-realities. That's what he's saying. So there are various degrees of the theory of Mayavada with varying grades of reality attributed to that which is other than the Brahman. The most uncompromising theory of illusionism does not solve the problem of existence. It only shows the way out for the individual from the limitation and suffering of the world. In its extreme form, it knocks out of existence all that seems to have value for man. His existence, his life, his action, his aspiration, his effort, his liberation, even God. Okay? They are all extinguished. And that's not satisfying at all. In a slightly lighter version, reality is conceded to the universe and the individual by which he rises to spiritual heights. But this is meaningless only if the temporality of the world is granted some reality. And if this is conceded, then the problem becomes not the unreality of world, but the ignorance of mental consciousness that takes the real world for an illusion. If reality of the world is conceded, the statements like I am he and I am that, soham asmi, tat tvamasi, all these things become meaningless, which since creation is illusory. The real solution to the problem of existence must accept reality of cosmos, individual, and the transcendent. This is the final solution. What Srivdi is saying is that the problem is not with the reality or the unreality. Neither there is a problem with the reality, Brahman, nor is the problem with the world. Both are real. The problem is the consciousness from which you are seeing it. That's the problem. So the problem of Maya, it has different grades and you are using different instruments of knowledge. That's the problem. Okay? So we'll do each sentence next time. So Sunki, you have to note down. We have to go to
Yes, I'll make a note.
Yeah. The page is 484 and the para we have to read is uncompromising theory of evolution. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Au revoir everybody. Today is Darshan Day. So, yeah.
Merci.